Hello there ladies and gents, welcome to another repair video. Today we're going to be working on something a little bit different for this channel. We're going to be working on a GTX 980Ti, and this has been sent in by a customer because it has a few rather poorly components on the main board. So basically the customer got in touch and asked me if I fixed graphics cards. I said, well, as long as it's not an actual GPU chip issue, then yes, I would be happy to help. So basically they continue to explain that the graphics card in question has got some blown MOSFETs on the motherboard. And today we're going to try and fix it, but there is one problem, and that is that I don't have a desktop computer in the workshop to be able to test it. So once I've actually proceeded with the repair, I'm not going to attempt to power it on or anything like that, but once I've actually done the repair, I'm going to basically take it into the house and I'll film in there to confirm that it is working. But basically this has got some blown components, so we're going to try and fix it. So we're going to start by taking it apart. So I'm going to need to remove these screws from the outer shroud or outer housing, whatever you want to call it. Okay, there we go. So there's the heatsink, and oh, that's just dust. Okay, so there's no thermal paste on here. It has been cleaned off, which is fine. So I need to carry on disassembling. So obviously I've never taken one of these apart. I don't really know where all of the screw locations are, so it's a little bit of guesswork from me in terms of the screws. Okay, there goes the nut. And I believe that's it. No, there's a few more. There we go. Awesome. Okay, so the customer's explained that the MOSFETs around the VRMs have exploded. So I'm going to pop it under the microscope and I'm going to start off by giving it a quick visual inspection and seeing if I can figure out where might be damaged and what I can do to fix it. So I'll pop under the microscope and we'll take a closer look. So straight away I can see a burnt component here, and it is APW7142. Okay, so the reason I saw that straight away is because there's a big hole in it, and you can see there. So this is going to be some sort of a voltage regulator. So as long as I can find the spec sheet for it, I might be able to match one up with something else off another board, and hopefully be able to replace that. I'm going to carry on with the inspection and see what else I can see. Okay, what's the deal here? Oh dear. Okay. So we've got a damaged component here. And looks like that is the same chip as these ones. What is this on the board? Some sort of residue on the board here. I don't know what it is. Now the issue here is I'm not going to have this chip. I'm not going to have this chip available at all. So it's something that I'm going to need to order. Oh wow, the video memory has got hot. Very hot. Can you see that discoloration? There's like a rainbow effect on the board. Okay, let's carry on the back. Alright, so I can't see any components apart from the ones I've already found. So I'm going to start looking up some parts. Alright, so let's see if we can find anywhere where we can buy this from. So I have just checked DigiKey. Alright, so apparently DigiKey doesn't sell it. So I'm going to have a look on AliExpress. I might have to wait a little while. So APW 7142. I'm going to try and get these on a quick delivery. So I'm looking for any options with 10-day delivery, but I can't see any. I'm going to have to find it elsewhere. That's from China. Yeah, the only option it looks like I've got here is to pay £4.99 for one if I want it from the UK. So I'm going to watch that, and I will source the parts, but I'm going to try and source it elsewhere. It looks like the only option at the minute is eBay though. Let's carry on. Alright, so we've got SIC 789 next. I don't think this is it. Oh yes it is. Yeah it is. Yeah. Alright. This is unit price is $1.60. Sorry, $3 for one. I'll probably buy two just in case, maybe three. But it looks to be that's probably all I'm gonna need, I would say. So I've got a source for the chip itself. So for this blown chip, I've got a source there, and I've also got a source for the MOSFET. But what I do need to do is work out a quote for the customer, get the customer to accept that quote, and then it's just a case of ordering parts. So before I can actually get the customer to accept the quote, I need to know what I've got to do. So I need to know just how bad this damage actually is. So I need to know if there's any traces damaged. I need to know if I can just pull the chip off and drop a new one on. And yeah, we'll see. So I'm going to remove this chip. I just cleaned it up with isopropyl alcohol. I'm going to add some flux. I've got my hot air set to 440 degrees Celsius at 40% airflow. Okay, it looks like it might be welded to the board, to be honest. Okay, so I'm going to increase my hot air to 480 degrees Celsius at 60% airflow. So we might lose some traces here. Okay, we are going to lose some traces. You can see how it's melted on one side, but it's still solid on the other. So basically what's happening there is the trace itself is welded to the chip. I'm trying to get it off without damaging traces, but not going to happen. We are going to lose some traces here. This might not be fixable. Right, I don't want to risk that trace. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get my micro pencil. And I'm going to take some low melt solder paste on the end of the micro pencil. I'll take my hot air. I'm going to apply hot air at the same time as running the iron with low melt solder paste around the chip, because I know that this is going to tear traces. Sometimes you just get a feel for it and you just know what's going to happen. I want to try and minimise any damage that might occur. In fact, I think it's already took a couple of traces in that corner where that blob was. Okay, so I'm going to add some more flux. I still think we're going to lose traces, but this might minimise the amount that we lose. Alright, so let's try and get this off now then. So the reason I'm doing this now is for two reasons. Number one, this is dead anyway. This chip is dead. There is no way of salvaging this chip. And number two is purely because I need to know what kind of work I've got to be able to restore this circuit before I give the customer a final quote. Because I've gave the customer a rough estimate, but I need to give them a final quote, and this is going to allow me to give pictures with that quote to be able to provide an accurate and honest quote to the customer. But I'm still going to do all I can, because it's not all about just making money and charging the customer as much as I can. This is about mitigating damage and trying to get it as cheap as possible and as easy as possible for the customer. Because the more expensive, the less viable it's going to be. And you kind of just bite yourself in the foot, really. Because what happens is you'll give the customer a high quote, they're going to refuse it, and then you lose your money. So I want to keep it as low as possible. I think this is about as mitigating as it's going to get. I don't think there's any way I can avoid this. It's going to tear some traces. Wow. Okay, Now that's happened, there's something else I can do. That's basically pretty much de-lidded itself. So you can see what's happened here. The component itself has basically welded itself together on the board. And that happens quite regularly with MOSFETs and other similar components when they go bad. They do generally fail in spectacular fashion. But now that that's happened, now that it's split itself in half, there is something else that I can possibly do. So I'm going to show you what that is. So number one, these traces, gone. Right? These traces are gone. So I'm going to need to restore these. Now, the thing about this is all one trace by the look of it. So I should be able to restore that relatively simply. But this bit here still hasn't come off the board, so we've still got that there. Well, that's not part of the pad, that is part of the component. But there's something else I can do now that's going to be able to remove this without causing too much damage. Or possibly without causing too much damage. So I'm going to take my normal soldering iron here. And I'm going to add some more flux. While I'm waiting for that to heat up. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some leaded solder. It can be leaded solder, it can be low melt solder, whatever you prefer. But I'm going to get some leaded solder and I'm basically going to heat up the area using my normal iron. I'm going to add a bunch of leaded solder and that's going to transfer heat directly to this part of that component. So if I just hold that there, and then I've actually got to move for a second. I need to swap the iron into my right hand so I can get the hot air gun. But if I just take some hot air now, it should, in theory, allow me to lift this off without damaging it too much more. And then my hot air decides it wants to turn itself off. Oh dear, I'm waiting for a new heat gun to come. I don't think that actually worked. Wow, that really is welded to the board pretty severely. Yeah, I can't mitigate the damage. Unfortunate, but I can't. There's no way. It's physically welded to the board. If you think about how that's got direct heat on that component and it's not budging, it's welded pretty bad. It's going to rip the board apart. I've got a feeling it's going to take the entire layer. Come on, I saw you move then. Wow. I've never had one stuck on this bad. think I've got it. Where did it go? I don't even know where it went. I think it flung off. Is that it? I think that might be it. No, that's damage to the board, yeah. That was pretty severe. Alright, so we now have a physical hole in the board, but that could not be helped. So here's a question. Does that, or rather is that meant to be a separate layer? Because I don't know. Obviously this pad that is still here, that is meant to be a separate layer. So what is this? So I don't actually know how this is going to be going. So let's clean everything up. Let's get rid of everything. Let's completely remove all of the solder that's on the board at the minute. So I'm going to wick it all away using some solder braid. Because I need to see what we're up against here. Alright, so I believe this here is basically, I think the layout for this is we've got a pad here which is still there. So that's absolutely fine. But then we've got, I believe we've got another pad here. I think this pad is all one pad. I'm almost sure of that. So restoring that pad wouldn't be too severe. However, I don't know what this pad here is. I don't know what this pad here is. So we've got two pads here, we've got two little squares, and then we've got a big rectangle here, or the other half of the chip is another one big pad. But is all of this meant to be one trace? I think so. This, not sure, but it's there. It's this one I'm questioning. So I need to find that out. I need to find out if I've got to restore one pad here like this. So let's say, for example, if I wanted to run one jumper wire and just fill in this entire gap. Or do I need to basically run individual jumper wires? Because if I need to run individual jumper wires, then it's going to be several traces. I don't think I do, but one thing I can do, because these are the same chips as the one above them, I can just do a couple of continuity tests and just see which pins are all linked together. So let's do that. So I believe we have 3 missing traces here. So are all these traces linked together to the capacitor? Okay, yeah, so 3 traces are all linked to the capacitor. And then the next trace along in the line goes to a via here. Via, depends how you pronounce it. But that goes to a via here. But all of these are all present. So I'm not worried about those. They're all present. What I'm concerned about is, well, there's these ones here. So let's see how far these go. So 3 on each side. Wait, is that ground? No. But it is, but that is linked to here. So we've got 3 on this side, 3 on this side. So those pads are all linked together. So it's basically a little square. I'm not sure. I don't know if that's meant to be like that. I think I need to take another one off, but I need to take one off that's not going to be linked to this one. Okay, so it looks like we've got one on a separate phase on number 4. So this one here looks like it's not linked to the bottom ones, whereas the other ones are. Same chip, but it looks like it's not linked. So I'm going to remove this one to figure out what's actually going on underneath the chip. So I can put this back on, that's not an issue. I can take this off and then put it back on. That's not going to be a problem. But I need to figure out what's actually going on underneath that chip. Okay, it's not going to allow me to remove it. These things are solid. They're solid. Right then, ladies and gents, so I've just been speaking with the customer and basically I've explained the situation with this. So I didn't know to start with, but the customer is actually in Guernsey, which is considered as international shipping. So given the fact that it's blown a hole in the board, it's took the trace completely away from it. We've still got damage on this component here, this voltage regulator here. So we've got damage here to this voltage regulator. We've got a hole in the board over here. We've got a weird discoloration, and the customer's just explained to me as well that the board actually did start to catch fire, and he believes it was something to do with his power supply. I'm not sure why that's so out of focus, but he believes it's something to do with his power supply. He believes that's what caused it to blow. Now, the problem here is that we've got a lot of work in front of us, and even if I was to restore that trace, see, all of these, this to me looks like one phase, I think, and this looks like one phase. So it's completely took out one of the phases. And even if I was to restore these traces, there's a high likelihood that it's caused further damage. There's a weird discoloration to the board, so it's got some weird colour to it, like a rainbow effect. I'm assuming that is from fire damage. And on top of that, we've got the hole in the board, we've got this damaged component here, and then we've got international shipping to get back. to the customer. On top of the fact that if this is sent 12 volts to the CPU or to the GPU, then this is screwed. This is the most expensive part of the board. To buy this chip alone, you're looking at well over £100, probably close to the value of the card itself, which is a shame because, you know, it's a nice card. These are nice cards. They're really, really good cards for editing and for you know, playing a lot of games. Even some of the newer AAA titles, it can handle a fair bit. So it is a shame. But the customers decided not to go ahead with the repair because there is a slim likelihood that I'm going to get this working, and on top of that, it's going to be expensive. I'm not going to lie, it wouldn't be cheap. It would not be cheap at all. It's probably going to be looking at well over £100 if I'm being honest, just to fix this. You've got the cost of parts, you've got the cost of labour, and then you've got the shipping as well. And that is if it's fixable. That's if it's fixable. Now, I'm not saying this isn't fixable. I don't know. But I'm saying it's slim. It is slim. I mean, we can see the damage on the board and it doesn't look promising. It's completely took this layer out. It's took this layer out here. It's took all of the traces with it. And yeah, even if I manage to get one of those chips back on and fully connected up, is it going to work? That's the problem. Is it going to work? So the customers decided not to go ahead with the repair, and they've also decided to put this into my spare parts bin. So a thank you to the customer for that. I mean, obviously, I wouldn't have minded shipping it out, but the customer would have had to pay return shipping, and he's decided not to do that because obviously he's probably not going to get a lot for it on eBay as spares. He's probably barely going to recoup his losses on the shipping to me and then the shipping back, if that. I don't know what they go for on spares, but he's basically decided to donate it as parts. So I mean, you know, there's going to be something on here that I can salvage, but unfortunately, it's going to be a no fix for this one. It is a shame. It is a nice card, and I would have loved to have got it back up and running again, but obviously not. But yeah, that's going to be for this video. Thank you very much for watching. If you like this type of content, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell notifications so I'll let you notified whenever I release a video. If you want to support the channel, you can do so by using the Patreon link in the video description. You can use the join button down below the video to become a channel sponsor. And all Patreon members and channel sponsors get early access to all of my videos. On top of that, if you want to organise your own repair, you can do so by using the website link in the video description. You can book in a repair automatically, or you can get in touch for a quote before you do so. I'll be happy to have a look at your device, whether it's a console, whether it's a graphics card. No matter what it is, get in touch and I'll see what I can do to help. But that's going to be for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later. Bye for now.